When we improvise, we awaken something deeper than our conscious mind. We sense, perceive, and respond, whether that's in speech, in movement, or in making. But in today's world of planning and predictability, where everything is thought out, the importance of improvisation is often forgotten. As much as we would love to have all the answers, what makes us human is the fact that we don't. But we can listen, intuit, and attend to what bodies, materials, and landscapes may tell us. Living with an authenticity through an embrace of uncertainty, through the loss of self, we gain a more profound connection with ourselves and the world. This is An Improviser's Guide to Life, Episode 1, Improvisation in Sculpture. From earliest times, we have allowed form to emerge under our hands through manipulation or assemblage. From these forms, new worlds are revealed. In this episode, we hear from contemporary British sculptors John Edgar, a sculptor in wood and stone, and Jane Ackroyd, a sculptor in steel. Although their practices are distinct, both embrace an intuitive, improvisational approach to their work. Edgar's large-scale environmental commissions emerge through a process of reduction, while Ackroyd, a recipient of the Jackson Pollock Lee Krasner Foundation Award, creates deeply expressive steel forms, imbued with an essence of nature, place and identity. We will also hear from artist, psychotherapist and leading voice on the psychology of the creative process, Dr. Patricia Townsend. In her writings, Dr. Townsend offers a unique perspective on the inner life of artistic practice, revealing the psychological processes that underlie the creative process.
I realised early on that it was pointless me having thrown aside a professional life to move into this dangerous area of art that I wanted to be in, unless all of that process was going to be dangerous, because I was going to end up earning less money, I was sure of it. And this was so exciting. And I found that starting to look at materials like stone and wood, so reductive, things you took away, I was starting to think, well, hold on, it's going to be even more dangerous doing things reductively because you can't add bits back. And that's how I started to work with bits of stone and wood. Anything can creep into the work. If you're really moved by something, you're manipulating a material and working simply with a material, anything can creep in. And that certainly with each new block, I was starting to try and work in quite an open way and encourage what I've now found to be improvisation.
I sometimes say, go and get 20 pieces of metal and then pair them up. So you've got 10 pairs, then start to put them together. And somehow that frees people up to not be too conscious of what they're making. So I sometimes do that myself, or sometimes I get a bucket, I put a whole load of metal in it and throw it on the floor and weld it up just like that, so that there's no control really, though you lose control a bit, and then it's much more fun. I sort of know as well when something's going right, there's a feeling, oh, this is going well, and then when something's really nearly finished, I think, yeah, they're excellent, this is nearly it. It's much more fun to improvise something. I mean, sometimes something suggests itself. So when I made a life-size wildebeest, and I found the nose of the wildebeest in a scrapyard, and I thought that's the nose of a wildebeest. So based on that bit of metal, I then made the rest of it. Also, I wanted the wildebeest to be looking over its shoulder. I made it in the year I was 40, and my father had just died, and I was looking back over my life. And there was a song at the same time, looking back over my shoulder. I can't remember who sang it, and it wasn't actually till after I'd made the wildebeest I realised what it was, that it was me looking back over my life. I'm the wildebeest looking back.
Both artists here describe a process in which their work relies upon a loss of control. In these early stages, and throughout their creative process, it is the material which guides their approach. Dr. Townsend links this process to her theory of presense, the initial formless stage of the creative process.
In a way, the presense comes from the material that they're using. It's the material that speaks to them. There is a dialogue between the medium and the artist. The artist does something and the medium either goes with that or doesn't, or almost says back, no, I don't like that, try something else. As this dialogue goes on, it's almost as though the developing artwork begins to come to life, and there's a real conversation, if you like, between the work and the artist. And I think at this stage, this is really when you don't want anything interfering with what's happening, because you don't want anyone interfering with you hearing what the material's saying to you and what's the next move should be.
You feel like you're floating, but you've got very, hard, firm objects in front of you, pieces of metal, say, for example. Maybe I have some flat bits, some round bits, some square bits. And as I put them together, I know sort of where I want them. But again, it's non-verbal. So it's just like using my eyes to make things feel right. And I've always found it very relaxing. And I normally listen to music at the same time. I think the play I was always making things, so I knew a way of being and I knew how I wanted to make something. And it wasn't verbal, it was non-verbal, so I'd put pieces together. And then I think, I don't like that bit there, I'm taking it off again. And so I can still fall back into that quite easily. It was a way of keeping myself focused, I think also to sort of banish anxiety that I had as a child. And if I was anxious, if I started doing a painting or making a sculpture, I wasn't anxious anymore. So sort of like a lifesaver in a way. I think because it was a calm space on my own where I could just focus away from myself, away onto an object rather than verbalizing problems. So it's a sort of an escape. I have to work where I don't quite know exactly how it's going to end up. Otherwise, I'd be far too bored if I planned it. I think it probably makes it a bit more lively. I like it to be unpredictable, how it's going to end up. That's the fun of it for me. I really wouldn't enjoy to be measuring things and thinking, that's got to be another centimetre in that direction.
I think that play is absolutely central to creative work, really. If you think of children's play, there's a sort of freedom about it. You watch children playing and they're often quite unconscious of what's going on around them. They're just absorbed in what they're doing and they're just trying things out, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't work, they just try something else. And that's the sort of state that you need to be in when you're making art, really. When you're just letting the materials take you in a particular direction, or just anything that comes into your mind, you can just try out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. Just that freedom is really important. Without knowing which way you're going, that's the important thing.
You've got to prepare yourself to be receptive. I need to make sure that I've got portions of time in the day where I've got less disturbance, so that I've got those pockets of time that I know that I'm not going to be pulled out into the real world, other people's worlds of practicality and whatever. You need to make sure that you can't imagine somebody glowering in the background going, why is he relaxing and pondering? That's a big thing for me. You want to be getting into the position where you're not present. A lot of the time, you're going into an internal space where time is just continuing. It might be one of those things where you suddenly click yourself back and you realize, oh, actually, that's happened. Like sometimes if you're driving, you wonder how you've managed that last 3/4 of a mile when obviously you're operating in some form within your brain, whereas you've been taken away in another. And indeed, whereas the sculpting, certainly when I'm working from life, I've noticed that when I've got a sitter that I'm trying to perceive, I'm really trying to use my conscious mind to be asking questions of them and finding out, almost like a detective inspector would be on the case, trying to find out information, find out how these people tick. That means that your unconscious side, the subconscious side, can be getting on, and often the work will come out, will proceed better because you haven't been thinking about how literal it is perhaps so much.
It's almost as though you have to distract your thinking mind so that the part that you're not aware of can get on with what it needs to do. And I think you can do that in various ways, doing a portrait and talking a lot to the person whose portrait they were doing and exploring all sorts of things about that person. The point of that is not only to find out about, probably not even at all to find out about the person. The point is to let their unconscious, the artist's unconscious, get on with the real business of doing the portrait.
This is really fascinating. The notion of preparing to be receptive. Jane and Patricia's description of play as unpredictable, and the flow-like state John enters in his portraiture, all point to how the conscious mind can actually inhibit creative expression. Through an emptying of expectation, a withdrawal of judgment, we create a space to reveal something to ourselves. For these artists, the value of improvisation is not limited to art alone.
How improvisation creeps into the rest of life, it's quite interesting because I guess it's a work in progress. And one of the things that you realise is, for whatever we're here, between 70 and 100 years or so, each stage you go through and you realise that, you're doing it for the first time and you don't get the opportunity to go back and do it again. Whether that be whatever, going through school or having kids or whatever, you're a different person by the time you've come through that stage.
I think there are parallels between the way an artist works with their medium and other things in life. There's an aim of getting in touch with things that are not fully conscious. You're not just working with words and with in therapy you are working with words, but you're trying to get beneath the words to what's going on underneath. And so there is a sort of an attempt to get in touch with the unconscious. And of course the artist is working alone to do that. And they don't have another person to help them to sort of find what they're looking for. So they're reliant on the medium to respond to what they're doing and lead them in the right direction.
We've heard about the way in which the physical act of manipulating a material can reveal our inner selves. In the next episode, we will consider how the manipulation of our bodies in relation to others can achieve similar freedoms as we delve deep into the Brazilian martial art of Capoeira.
There's only one thing I wrote down, thinking of wanting to be open to the improvisation process before we met. But psychotherapist James Hillman, there's a wonderful quote. Literalism demands singleness of meaning and hardens the heart, preventing deeper penetration of the imagination.